Our speaker is Ben-Ze'ev, a professor of philosophy at the University of Haifa, Israel. He presents his talk on the topic, Do You Really Want a Superior Partner? The Paradox of Romantic Equality. Professor Ben-Ze'ev is a professor of philosophy at University of Haifa, Israel. He received his PhD from the University of Chicago in 1981. At the University of Haifa, he was president and rector. As a researcher, he is considered one of the world's leading experts in the study of emotions. His research interests have centered on the study of emotions, particularly romantic love. He is the founding and former president of the European Philosophical Society for the Study of Emotions. His major books in this field of research are The Subtlety of Emotions, 2000, Love Online, 2004, In the Name of Love, co-authored with Gusinski, 2008, and The Arc of Love, How Our Romantic Lives Change Over Time, 2019. He is co-editor with Angelica Krebs of Philosophy of Emotion, 4 volumes, 2017. Today, he will give a talk on the topic, Do You Really Want a Superior Partner? The Paradox of Romantic Equality?
The topic of my talk today is, do you really want a superior partner? The paradox of romantic equality. This talk is partially based on my book, The Arc of Love, How Our Romantic Lives Change Over Time, and on articles that I published in Psychology Today. The complexity of romantic love. Henry Mencken said, for every complex problem, there is a solution that is simple, neat, and wrong. Romantic love, our most complex emotion, includes various puzzles that impede the achievement of enduring profound love. I focus here on the issue of equality between two romantic partners. Equality in relationships. Lady Nancy Astor said, I married beneath me. All women do. Should we aspire for equality in pursuing a romantic partner? Since antiquity, philosophical discussions have recognized the value of equality in close relationships. Likewise, psychological theory suggests that the lack of equality can produce envy and increase marital satisfaction. Discussion on equality in romantic relationships focus on two major kinds. A, an equal status and autonomy, and B, an equal sense of the person's overall value. The first factor is hardly disputable, while the second one, my focus here, is divisive. Notwithstanding the value of equality, many people dream of marrying someone superior to them. The Cinderella story, where a young poor woman marries a king, exists in many cultures. But would we really want to date someone out of our league? Equality in relationship. Rita Rudner said, men who have pierced ear are better prepared for marriage. They have experienced pain and bought jewelry. Complete equality and symmetry do not exist in reality as people change. This is fine, as long as an equality status and in decision-making is kept. Equality should not be mechanistic. Those with high self-esteem may prefer being with a partner who is slightly superior or more accomplished than them in certain realms. In one study, 89% of high-achieving men report that they would like to marry or have already married a woman who is as intelligent as they are or who is more so. These men believe that in marrying such a woman, they have made the better deal. However, there is some limit to the desirable gap. Both men and women pursue partners who are on average about 25% more desirable than themselves. People are aware of their own position in the hierarchy and adjust their seeking behavior accordingly while competing for more modestly desirable mates. Small and significant differences. Francis Bacon. Where there is no comparison, no envy, and therefore kings are not envied but by kings. Significant inequalities in the partner overall value may be exciting in generating sexual attraction in the short term, but are problematic for the long term, where shared activities and responsiveness are essential. Small differences between partners are meaningful, but often work differently in generating negative and positive emotion. Thus, if the negative emotion of envy is part of the agent overall attitude towards the partner, the agent will focus on the competitive and comparative element in the relationship. When feeling positive emotions, such as romantic love, small gaps between partners enhance love since the cooperative concern is associated with increasing the prospects of having a better life. Partners are unconcerned with their inferiority because in this sense, minor inequality does not humiliate them. Managing the gap. A polyamorous husband said, "My wife doesn't want my lover to be superior to her, so that she is not a threat to her. However, she does not want the lover to be far away from her, as this somehow belittles her." Certain inequalities in the overall value of each partner are inevitable. However, evaluating these inequalities afford some leeway on the couple's part. They must first decide how to reduce the inequality gap and B, to reevaluate the importance given to each characteristic. Deciding on the comparative value of both partners not only reveals the small and large differences between them, but also gives each characteristic a relative importance. Significant characteristics such as wisdom, beauty, and kindness involve some flexibility. The comparative value. Sharma said, if you have an old habit of competing and comparing yourself with others, then you are still living your life like a sperm. Grow up. Women, more so than men, may also diminish the level of inequality by playing down their advantages, thereby maintaining their love of the inferior person. This action may be a temporary, superficial remedy, though in the long term, the actual overall value of the partner is likely to emerge. It was found that despite the considerable damage that the unequal division of domestic labor has on relationship satisfaction, when individuals feel appreciated by their partners, they maintain satisfaction even when the division of the household labor is unequal. Envy in romantic relationships. Joseph Epstein said, "Of the 7 deadly sins, only envy is no fun at all." Close relationships, such as friendship and romantic love, seem to be incompatible with the presence of envy. Nevertheless, the existence of the comparative concern in close relationships may generate envy. One woman asked me the following question: why is it the men I fall in love with are never interested to me, whereas the ones who do fall in love with me are never the ones I care about? I replied to her, "You are an 8. Actually, to say the truth, she was 7, but I didn't want to insult her. So I said, "You are an 8, constantly chasing after 10s and constantly being chased by 6. Sometimes being in love with someone we admire and even assuming her comparative superiority gives us the good feeling of being close to such a person and sharing her virtues. We love to admire, be admired, and be in the company of those we admire. In this case, as we bask in the reflected glory of the other, our own self-worth may rise too, as it is validated by the others selecting us. Hence, admiration rather than envy is generated. Envy and admiration in romantic relationships. Someone said, "I've never been envious, not even when my dad finished 5th grade a year before I did." The beloved superiority may generate envy if the superiority is in domains relevant to our self-esteem, and if the close relationship constantly reminds us of our perceived undeserved inferiority. Indeed, various studies have revealed that satisfaction in close relationships is influenced by the global perception of doing as well as one's partner. Another case of envy in romantic relationships is when the partner is inferior to the subject and the subject is envious of her friend who has better partner. Here the issue of undeservingness and the sadness for the road not taken are particularly evident. Undeserved inferiority and extramarital affairs. Rodney Dangerfield said, "I have good-looking kids. Thanks goodness, my wife cheats on me." The issue of undeservedness, inferiority in romantic relationships is illustrated in a study indicated that being in undeserved position in your marriage may encourage extramarital affairs. This is the case for both the superior person who feels she could do better and for the inferior one who feels indignant at being unappreciated by the partner. Involvement in extramarital relationships is more likely for these superior and inferior people than those who are considered equal to their partner. The superior person may perceive the extramarital relationship as something she deserves because she's getting less than she would on other circumstances. The inferior person tends to be involved in extramarital affairs in order to escape the unpleasant state of inequality and to prove to herself and to her partner that she actually is equal to the partner and is regarded as attractive and desirable by other possible partners. Inequality in romantic relationships, when one you love does not love you as much. Someone said, loving someone who doesn't love you back is like hugging a cactus. The tighter you hold on, the more it hurts. When speaking about unrequited love, people usually refer to painful experiences in which one partner feels no love whatsoever toward the other. However, this extreme case is less common than those in which there is more nuance, where both partners love each other, but the kind and intensity of the love is different. Unequal romantic involvements are hard to measure, given the differences in people's personality and the manner and pace that they form loving relationships. Accordingly, inequality in romantic involvement is common, at least in the early years when the romantic relationship is still being formed. Inequality and choosing a romantic partner. A married woman once said, "When I got married, I didn't know my true market value. Now I'm married and I have wrinkles and it is too late." After indicating the role of inequality in romantic relationships, I turn to discuss the issue of measuring the inequality in the value of each partner. There are two scales with which to assess romantic value. The non-relational scale, which is a general measure of people, and the relational scale of suitability, which measures a unique connection. The non-rational scale measures the value of traits as they stand on their own, such as wisdom, wealth, and sense of humor. This sort of measure has two advantages. It is easy to use, and most people would agree about the assessments. The suitability scale is much more complex since it depends on personal and contextual factors about which we do not have full knowledge. Take, for example, the issue of wealth. On the non-relational scale, a lot of money is often good, but a wealthy person may score low on fidelity, as fat bank accounts open many romantic doors. Moreover, wealthy people tend to believe that they are more deserving, and hence their caring behavior might be lower. The role of intelligence in falling in love. Do women fall in love with philosophers? Diana Raab said, "I have always been attracted to intelligent men because I believe that the brain is the largest sex organ." Samuel Richardson said, "Women do not often fall in love with philosophers. Studies show that intelligence in a prospective partner peaks at the point at which one suppresses 90% of the population. This is about IQ of 120. People who are smarter than 99% of the population IQ of 135 are slightly less attractive as a partner than those who are smarter more than 90%, but still are more attractive than someone smarter than 50% of the population. The term sapiosexual refers to someone who is sexually attracted to intelligence. Marilyn Monroe was a person like that. She had a picture of Albert Einstein on her piano. The decline in the attraction at extreme levels of intelligence remains an open question. Social competence difficulties attributed to people with such high intelligence may be a factor. Thus, a common stereotype of philosopher is being very smart nerd. This may explain Richardson's claim that women do not often fall in love with philosophers. In my humble opinion and personal experience, this claim is wrong, and not merely because not all philosophers are very smart. Inequality in choosing a romantic partner. Brigitte Bardot said, "When I love, I do it without counting. I give myself entirely, and each time it is the grand love of my life." The suitability scale does not necessarily correlate to the non-relational scale. Another example to discrepancy between the two scales is sex. A good sexual appetite is usually good, but a large discrepancy between the partner's sexual needs is not conducive to the romantic connection. If, for example, a man wants to have sex once or twice a week, and the woman wishes to have sex multiple times a day, would they be suitable partners? If all positives on someone's non-relational scale are reduced by aspect on the relational scale, this is likely to bode ill with the individual personal flourishing. Even if both partners score high on the non-relational scale, but they are not able to bring the best in each other, then their value on the relational scale will be low. Concluding remark. Comparison is the death of joy, Mark Twain. Elizabeth Evans said, "I love you more than coffee, but please do not make me prove it." Having an equal standing in relationship is important for its long-term quality and satisfaction. However, there are various domains of comparison, and it is up to the lover to determine the relative value of each one. Accordingly, considering our partner as a superior or equal to us partially depends on our value. In profound love, the comparison between the partner and others is of little concern. You love the person because of who the person is and not because of how they rate compared to you. Profound love, whose bread and butter consist of shared activities and experiences, involved autonomy and equality of status. The presence of overall equality is less significant if the differences are not too great. Thank you, and I wish you good luck in finding a romantic partner and in maintaining the one that you love. All the best.
Thank you so very much, Professor, for this really engaging talk. We have some time for questions, 5 minutes exactly. So we may take advantage of that. Yes, please.
In my research, I find when couples are not considered equal, especially in their involvement in the relationship, the person who is less involved can more easily walk away. The person more involved tends to do things to keep the other in the relationship. And what tends to happen is a power imbalance, which can last a while, but eventually one or the other gets tired of it.
Thank you. I agree that, and I said that at the beginning of the relationship, this is quite true, and people may be less involved, people may be more shy, people may be less outspoken, and therefore there are differences. But, and you can go on with it because people are different. However, if alongside the relationship, when they continue for the long term, then should both of them be involved in more or less the same profundity. They don't have to be exactly the same. That if he bought a watch to his wife, she must next week bought a watch to him. It is not mechanistic equality, but rather knowing that deeply inside, the two partners want to be involved and are involved in more or less similar manner.
Okay, thank you. There's one more question. Please come here, Victor.
Hi, thanks for your wonderful talk. Very interesting. Created a lot of, I liked it and I disliked it at the same time. You think of people in terms of numbers is a little bit strange. If I think about my wife, rather my ex-wife and me, I couldn't say equality or not equality because there's 50 variables and they all vary on a daily basis. So I would never be able to think of this in terms of inequalities in terms of intelligence or any other factor. So I liked what you said at the very end very much, but I just wondered if people actually think like this, or is it just something that's intrinsic to their behaviors and they act on these, and you know, the philosopher decides that there's these variables that are the underlying mechanisms by which they act.
Yes, I know that people would not like to be treated as a number, but underlying each evaluation, you can somehow quantify it. I remember a few years ago, I was an expert in the TV show Marriage at First Sight, in which we, the expert, were to match people that they didn't see each other. And we were three or four experts. And in many cases, when my colleague said, oh, this is a good match, I said to them, well, it is not good match because she will see him as an inferior to her because she is a bit higher than him, not a bit more, and then it will not be a good match. And this is what happened. I mean, we don't need to measure, and after it, when the relationship go on, we don't do it. But underlying the relationship is a perception whether our partner is somehow equal to us, or is he considerably inferior to us, and we might have a better deal somewhere else, in a sense, and this make emerge here regret about the road not taken. When people ask, what are you regret most in life? Most of them say, we regret in the romantic realm that I did not marry someone that I was in relationship with. There is a story of one woman who said, yes, when I was young, I dated with a man. He was okay, but a kind of nerd. So I didn't continue with him. 30 years later, she found out that he won the Nobel Prize for Physics. So she indeed regrets this road not taken. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. One more question?
Hi, thank you for this super interesting talk. I'm intrigued about how both men and women overestimate their own partner or their mate value and search for a partner who's 25% more desirable than they are. How would you explain this, or how can we reevaluate that to make it more fitting? So I look at individuals who categorize themselves as being at the bottom of the mate hierarchy, but who would refuse to accept a partner, potential partner, who's also at the, in their terms, bottom of the hierarchy. How do you explain this, and how can we like fix this or be better at this?
In the study, these men were not asked what percentage of women you want above you, but they ask them, if you earn such and such salary, a yearly salary, what you allowed want the women with you to earn. And most of their answers were about 25%. It is not that they calculate, but they see if the woman is on the same, more or less. It is not mechanistic, but somehow we got the picture and say, no, she will not want me. However, you are right, it is much more complex because we can give different significance, different weight to different quality. I once was on an airplane, and the religious person, a young man, sat beside me, and he said to me, I am in love with my wife. Then I said to him, tell me, is your wife wise? He said, he's not stupid. Then I asked him, is your wife beautiful? He said to me, she's not ugly. Is your wife, I asked, kind? Yes, she's very, very kind. And in his love, it didn't give much significance to wisdom or to beauty, but rather to kindness. And therefore, despite low level of wisdom and external appearance, he was in love with her because he gave to her kindness 10 out of 10, and gave it the weight, the significant, again 10 out of 20. So it is, to some extent, but depend on us how we shall evaluate the partner. It is not that there is some objective people out there. There is this non-relational scale, but more important is the suitability scale. And if she or him are high on the suitability scale, this is bingo. Not look for the being high on the non-relational scale.
Thank you so much. I'm just curious, I would like to ask you something because this last
Please do.
question reminded me of something that I learned during the conference I wasn't aware of, this triangular theory of love with the 3 points, passion, commitment, and intimacy. Yeah. Which of the 3 points in the triangle, according to your research, is more highly evaluated or is more necessary in a love relationship?
It depends. I'm speaking about deal breaker and deal maker. And there are studies about deal maker and deal breaker. And the advice that I give people in this regard is find yourself 3 to 5 deal maker, 3 to 5 deal breaker, and if the partner is very low on the deal maker, very low, high on the deal breakers, don't go. It will not work out. However, it is here also complex because study found that people may go on with finding 1 deal breaker, even up to 3 deal breakers, if the other characters are very high. So the issue here is extremely complex, and the number is something that we evaluate, we have inside us without knowing it as well. But you should not, we should somehow give more significance to certain characteristics and give them, focus about on them, and let the other characteristic, either a good characteristic or bad characteristic, less weight, and you may go on even with a kind, as in my example, with a kind person, woman, who are not beautiful or are not wise. This, it's a kind of complex evaluation which we intuitively do at the beginning and then improve it as time goes by.
Okay, thank you so very much. I think we have to finish here to have our coffee break. A pleasure to listen to your talk.
Thank you very much. I hope it will let some of you find your love.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we can go now to our coffee break and come back. Well, we're a few minutes late, but we can catch up, hopefully.